Hello, McDowell's. Hello, man. I just wanted to get my settings done here, right? Okay. I'm going to give a short scenario to the argument that's going on lately between me and Lazarus. Uh, there's things that happen in your decision-making process that you have to be aware of when you're in the modern world, and we're not talking about when you're in the postmodern world that exists today. We're not talking about the world of yesterday and the world of the 50s when people had mom and dads. We're worried about the world of today, and I'm going to give a scenario to that world. So the scenario to that world will have Jimmy and Sue. Jimmy and Sue have a relationship outside of the confines of marriage, which seems to be absurd these days. And Jimmy, it seems like everything's going along great, and then Sue runs off with Chad. Now, after finding out that Sue runs off with Chad, Jimmy finds out that he has a child with Sue. So Jimmy wants to fight this thing. He wants to go to court. He wants to go down to that Health and Human Service thing and say, I'm the father. But is Jimmy, in this scenario, is Jimmy really thinking about the child, or is Jimmy thinking about getting back with Sue? He can't get over Sue. That's the problem in these things. Jimmy can't get over Sue, so he's going to use fatherhood as the example, as the motivating force in his life. Adler talks about motivating forces in your life. That becomes Jimmy's motivating force in life. Sue's over with Chad. She's happy. She has the child. Chad is the cuck. He's taking care of Jimmy's child. Jimmy goes down to Health and Human Services. He says, I want to be the father. And they look at him and they smile and go, okay, you can be father by legal terms. And then they go to court, and he fights for his fatherhood. And the judge says, okay, Jimmy, we'll give you fatherhood. But hey, you're going to get to pay. You're going to get to see that baby and force your fatherhood and force your way back into her life. Okay, we'll give you everything you want. Next thing you know, Jimmy has $1,300 worth of child support payments that goes directly to Sue and Chad, which Chad is sitting on his couch eating his food and enjoying the extra income that they have. And now they have 3 incomes. Now, this is the general scenario that plays out. Jimmy's first mistake is he believed in fatherhood. Jimmy ran down there. Now, Jimmy finds himself 10 years later sitting on his couch in his one room, broke, complaining about everything that he volunteered for. This is the modern day scenario of fatherhood. Fatherhood is very polyandric for women. Women move on. There's a traditional sense of fatherhood that was back in the 50s that's no longer exists. 70% of the children nowadays are born out of wedlock not even wedlock, is born out of any kind of relationship with the biological father. And then Chad becomes the cuck father in those situations. What I call this is volunteering for your own slavery. You didn't really want. Do you think Jimmy really wanted to go raise that child? No, Jimmy wants to go back with Sue. He has his own Claire there. And Sue is going to take advantage. She's just going to sit back and let Uncle Sam in Health and Human Services make Jimmy into a slave. And then Jimmy, in his ignorance, will get everything he wants. Give a fool what he wants. That's what the system's all about. Give a fool father what he wants. And then they make him a slave. They take his money for the rest of his life. And then he wakes up somewhere down the line, thinking about this and how the trap was set for him through his ignorance and through his wanting to be a father. That's the beginning of my argument. I'm going to go on this argument because Laz has made a video about me, Lazarus, known as Messenger, but he still has not the courage to embrace what's happening to him. So this will be my scenario as we start off this week and we start answering the questions from his video. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. And thanks a lot for showing up. And think about that scenario, how you're volunteering for that, how your instincts as a male is playing right into the system. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. And then I'll give an in-depth video this week in response to, we can only find out if these things are true if we argue them. and then we have to argue them down to the facts. And the facts are something that seems to evade most people. If you want to find out if one of your ideas are true, you have to give a valid argument against it. Fatherhood has gone on in this Christian thing that's gone on for years, and traditionalism has gone on too far, and people are starting arguing it, and we're starting to see that it's falling apart. It's falling apart in our society because it doesn't stand up true to any argument. You just become a slave. You just become you're volunteering for your own destruction, and that's what men are seeing. Women could do polyandry for as many times as she can possibly do in this world. She can move from Jimmy the Chad to Harry to Bill to John, as far down the road as, and every guy that was the pre-guy will get disposed of. And that's what we talk about in MGTOW. But it's their own stupidity. They thought they were the man. They volunteered for that. And she will take advantage of that and manipulate the whole situation. In today's society, she will move on. And that's what we talk about in MGTOW. It has nothing to do with your feelings. It has nothing to do with what society wants of you. We have to argue these facts scientifically, and that's what I do. Listen to the story and ask yourself, are you Jimmy volunteering for your own slavery, or what would be the next thing you want to do? Do you want to fight against this traditional thing that makes you into a cucked father? Or do you want to go along with the traditionality and have someone call you a deadbeat dad and you get all shamed and boo-hoo? I'm 20 years removed from that stuff. Them things are horribly ineffective with me, because I am 20 years moved, and I have the plus of experience through this whole thing, and how I see it, and how I was cucked, how I was manipulated into this thing. Imagine yourself as Jimmy, and that is not uncommon to this society nowadays. That is the more common. What you're talking about when you're talking about fatherhood and all that stuff, that's the exception to the rule. Them are the 10% of people that actually make it through this sorting process. They're arguing the exception to the rule. Like, you're going to get there. You're going to walk through that minefield. And then when everything goes and when everything is destructed in your life and you become that slave, well, you'll have a lot of time to review the process afterwards. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. You guys take care and think about the process. Think about the presupposition, the pre-argument, the pre-scenario of the argument that I gave. And then I'm going to do some more arguing against fatherhood this week. Because it's a ridiculous social construct, and that's all it is a ridiculous social construct where it relieves the female of all accountability and agency to her decisions. And that's it. And men will argue, and they want to be those things. I understand that. But the logic doesn't ring true with me. And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk a lot about. Thanks a lot, Ben. Thanks a lot for being MGTOWs.